Okay, Mr. Hughes is not here. Are we missing anybody else? The other Mr. Hughes isn't in this class. Cutting it close, my Bulgarian comrade. Are we missing anybody else? She's not in this class. It's pretty bad if I know that. Okay. We have a couple things to finish up before we talk about this week and what we're doing. First of all, opportunity cost assignment. A couple of you left me hard copies. I haven't graded them yet because I didn't come to school until this morning. You shared a Google Doc, but did you put it in Canvas as well? Okay, I'm not going to give you a 0 or anything, but no matter what format you put it in, please turn it into Canvas because my rubric and stuff is in Canvas. So you can take a Google Doc and submit it to Canvas. It'll take you 30 seconds. I can help you later if you need that. You're not in trouble. Just do that for me in the future, okay? The rest of you, if you didn't get that done and you were here Friday, I will not take pity on your soul because you probably wasted your time. And we had one thing due all week, and we worked on it every day of class. So you really don't have an excuse, right? If you need help or have questions, please see me or email me sometime outside of class time, and I'm always happy to help. Right, Maddie? Yeah. Now, the other doom and gloom bad news is I did not get the best report from Miss Brabazon. So, starting with small things first. She is the best sub we have. That's why I always ask for her. I will continue to ask for her. So if you're one who got her mad, don't think she's just going to go away, because pretty much every Friday, I'm gone, and she's always my sub, if they let me have her. So, pet peeve number 1 for her is when you have to go to the bathroom or get a drink. I am very relaxed. I just need to know. Like, hey, grab a drink, cool. I'm not worried about that, because you're 17, and I feel weird telling you can't go do what your body says you need to do. But substitutes sometimes have different philosophies. So, it's not a big deal. This is the small complaint she had. Please don't say it like, I'm going to take a whatever. Just say, may I please use the restroom with subs, and then they don't leave me angry notes. Okay? That's not a big deal, right? Can we do that in the future? Second thing, going from small complaints to big complaints. She said she's not sure which class period, but someone before lunch, which includes you guys. Okay? Because she came in here about this class period, right? So it's either you guys or my sophomores. And I haven't had them yet. I will talk to them next. Passing notes. Because she was in land school. There are initials on this note. So here's how this works. Here's how this works. If you want to fall on this grenade and say, it is mine, I will take this up with you in private outside of class time.
But if you don't confess,
I am going to read it until either someone admits to it or I read the whole thing. And I already read it, and I'm giving you a chance because it's...
No one in here has a note.
Nobody wants to fall on the grenade and admit it was them?
No.
You're sure?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we're smarter than just text each other nowadays.
I know, and I'm not going to say anything about sophomores, but I kind of thought it was them. But she said this period or them, because she found it at lunch. Okay. It was folded up all nice, like with multicolored pens. On the front, there's a heart that is broken. I'm not making this up. And it says, to KG from TC. I have already looked in Power School at my students. I have guided reading and advisory, though. Okay, first, KG in purple pen. So I'm pretty sure a girl wrote this, but maybe it was a boy, because it's pretty colorful. Relationships are a two-way street. I'm pretending I'm a sophomore girl, because I'm assuming this is who wrote it. Anytime one person feels unhappy or wants a change, they have the power to end the relationship. comes to this point, this is definitely a sophomore, isn't it? When it comes to this point, you also have to tell your friends and the person you are dumping why you no longer want to go out with them. And in purple. Now, for some reason, it switches to orange, and it continues. You're the only real boyfriend I've ever had, KG. We've had there's like 5 O's. Many good times together. Parentheses. I'm trying not to blush, but I am embarrassed forever. Parentheses, prom weekend last year, smiley face.
Oh my God!
It really says that. I'm not making it up.
Oh my God.
Prom, you know what prom is? It's like a dance. I'm not going to tell you what that means. We've had so many good times together, parentheses, prom weekend last year, smiley face.
Then yeah, it wouldn't be the freshman.
But we have had just as many miserable times. And then there's like a bulleted list. You know I have to talk and text my friends, but you refuse to let me use my phone when you're around.
That's right.
So apparently he's very controlling.
That's right.
And notice how he's getting dumped in this letter. You always make me drive and come to your house or go somewhere far away.
It sounds like Chris.
Why can't you ever hang out at my place?
Are you writing this to me?
We'll have to check her handwriting. You always make me pay when we go out to eat. I can see why he's doing this. You are always creeping on my Facebook, Twitter, and Snapchat accounts. Why can't you just trust me? I told you it's juicy. Somebody's going to be crying.
You're going to break hard again.
I'm not breaking it. Don't write notes in my class. The few times you do come to my house, you always eat all my good food.
That's the reason.
And they continue on with the specific example of, last week you ate all of my good fruit snacks and drank my last Dr. Pepper. So now it switches to blue for some reason. And it says, I've tried and tried with you, KG. I've told you how I feel. We've argued. You always promise you'll change, but you never have. You either ignore me or blame it all on me. And then it switches to red. It's hard for me to say, KG, but you have pushed me to do this. Turn the page symbol. I used to love you with all my heart. Only a sophomore would say that, right? But we are just no longer MFEO. Meant for each other. I don't speak texting. Now we know. Again, sounds like a sophomore, right? Don't come around anymore. No, it gets better. My dad and his 12 gauge will be waiting. I blocked your number and changed my Facebook status to single. Good riddance. KG.
Hey, who just changed
So,
their relationship just recently?
I don't know. I don't look at people's Facebook pages.
Someone started looking.
Who has a lot of high schoolers? Do you have a lot of Big Piney kids on your thing?
Not a lot.
I'm okay with...
Well, my Bulgarian friends will be so thankful for it.
Oh, I wanted to.
Sure.
Whose initials?
KG and TC.
Trade Kasparov.
I already looked on Power School and I know who one is for sure. There are 2 freshmen with those initials, but I wonder how that would have got in my room. And maybe I'm missing a sophomore.
No, she gave him the note and he dropped it because he was so mad. He's like,
He was like,
But do you know who KG is? You guys don't know freshman. There used to be a KG, but he's not here. I can only go on the fruity colored handwriting is probably a girl. Like guys wouldn't do purple pen.
Who else is a KG?
I'm not gonna tell you, but after he's done.
I gotta be honest too.
Someone is gonna be embarrassed in the lunchroom. Now, can I safely tell Miss Bravazon it wasn't one of you guys? You're sure? I know it doesn't fit your initials, but
Straight up, I thought it was Marissa.
does he eat your fruit snacks and drink your Dr. Pepper? Sounds like my son. He eats all my good fruit snacks. Well, what I will tell her then is you guys will politely ask to use the restroom, not tell her, and that you didn't pass notes, and then maybe she won't be as mad. Is that a fair resolution to our issues? Okay. So, let's go to Canvas and actually, we've wasted enough time.
Last year, they weren't even in high school last year. How are they going to?
Good point. I have Power School and I can see everybody by last name. And I know who I think it is. But we've wasted enough time today on not government stuff. I think we should probably actually learn something about government, right? Maybe. Like, why did she break up with him? But until we know who it is, it's hard to... Apparently, Dr. Pepper and fruit snacks are more important than his or her love for you. And here's a weird thing. Do I know what any of your handwriting looks like?
No.
I have never seen any of you write anything. Except for you, because you do hard copies.
Kind of looks like yours.
We'll look at it later, okay? We better actually do some government stuff. So go to Canvas.
I don't even have code.
It's pen, it's not pencil. So, if you guys go to Canvas, let's look at the calendar. If you find yourself gone, I know volleyball's gone Friday. Other than that, I'm not sure of anyone who's like required to be gone. If you find yourself gone, though, what we're going to do is we're going to read a boring old piece of paper from 1776 that you will all think is stupid, but I guess we have to, so we might as well. At least we had some drama first today. And then what we're going to do, block day and Friday is the same thing. You're going to have a test over that, so to speak, but it's not going to be multiple choice. It's not going to be like an essay. You will enjoy it. You will be really good at it. On Canvas. So, we're going to be in a new module today. If you go to modules, you should see one that shows up. I think I called it DOI, and then I wrote out Declaration of Independence. That's what that stands for. And if I told you on a Monday morning you were coming to government class and you are going to read the full text of the Declaration of Independence that some old white guy wrote in 1776, how many of you would say that sounds like a fun day of class? You're weird if that sounds fun. Now, what if I told you, conversely, that your government teacher forged that note and framed somebody just to make you interested in that old piece of paper from 1776? Because that, my friends, is the Declaration of Independence. It is not a freshman love letter. I wrote it. I wrote it. Uh-huh. Miss Brabazon was not really mad at you. I made her the fall guy. Don't be mad at her. She didn't give me a bad report. I made all of that up. I also filmed all of this to put on YouTube so I can show everybody how I tricked you. Does anyone know who TC and KG are in the love letter? I just said it's not really a freshman. I wrote it. TC
True colors.
and KG. I wrote it, and it's not a love letter. It's the Declaration of Independence.
Oh.
You're like, what? You talked about prom and Dr. Pepper. That's not in the Declaration of Independence. Well, guess what, people? The Declaration of Independence is just the world's most famous breakup letter. So who was dumping who, and you can figure out the initials. King George is KG. Fun fact about King George III of England. He was the king in 1776. He kept a diary, like all kings do, on July 4th, 1776, when that breakup letter was issued. Does anyone know what he wrote in his diary? So the day he got dumped by TC, whoever that is, does anyone know what King George wrote in his diary? Quote, nothing happened. Like, it was a normal day. He didn't even write in his own diary that TC declared independence, a.k.a. broke up with him. Anyone know who TC is? It's a tough one. Close. C is colonies. T is not the. 13 colonies breaking up with King George. Because there is no United States of America until you break up with him, right? DOI. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at how the actual declaration is written. And you can tell, if I condensed it down into a 1 1/4 page love letter in funky colored pen, guess what your test is on Friday? Like, what do you have to do to show you understand it? You will be writing a freshman breakup letter.
Only if I can send it to my boyfriend.
You sure can. But then say, funny, it's actually the American Declaration of Independence.
I won't be able to get it, though, if I was your boyfriend.
I know. But here's what you're going to do. Did anyone think it was weird that it kept switching colors? 5 colors. 5 sections of the Declaration. And if you break them down and say, what's the purpose of this one? You can rewrite the historical stuff, like eating fruit snacks and Dr. Pepper. That's based on a real complaint that the 13 colonies had towards King George. Like, taking all of our money or our goods. So I rewrote it in the context of like a 15-year-old's relationship. That might be eating your good fruit snacks.
I'm just gonna like.
Yeah, that's why he got dumped, I guess. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. If you open that Google Doc, it looks big and boring, but it's not. And we're going to break it down and make it really easy to understand. That's our job today and tomorrow. Our job on the block day is you're going to rewrite it in a way that you say, look, here's the preamble of mine. So everybody see purple? Then it switches colors. That's the first section.
Shouldn't the colors have a meaning? Like red's mad.
Son, I only got so many funky colored pens. But purple is the preamble because of the P's.
How did it make you? Did you and your wife do that together?
No, I should have her write it because if you look at... But here's the cool thing. You guys don't know my handwriting very well either.
No.
So, but it definitely does not look like a girl. I have pretty bad handwriting. So here's what we're going to do. Make your own copy of this if you haven't already. And today is a day if the principal came in here and said, show me your learning targets, like 4 principals and a superintendent came in this morning and did, if you were in any other classes.
We all take down Mr. McCaffrey.
No. Do you know Mr. Lloyd? He'd take all of us with like one hand tied behind his back.
Yeah, he would.
I put really vague learning targets on purpose because here's a good example of how that gets in the way of learning. If you all knew today was about the Declaration of Independence and the setup, you'd go, oh, the letter thing, it's a fake. And then it wouldn't be very fun. So I purposely put a blank thing on there just in case. I'm sure you wouldn't have. But just in case someone actually looked at the calendar, you wouldn't know what today was about unless you know what the DOI is. And I figured you didn't know. Mission accomplished. So if the principal gets on my case about that, you tell him, nope, it was part of the lesson. He did it on purpose. Okay? Now, here's the first thing we're going to do, is color code the sections. I don't care if you highlight it in that color or change the text. Here's what I advise you to do, though. Make sure it is readable. Like, don't do light cyan color and it doesn't show up on a white background. So does everybody see where it says preamble? Highlight that paragraph. And then we're going to go up to the text color. I'm just going to highlight it, but I don't care. Somehow make it purple. Now, purple and black doesn't look very good, so I'm going to make the text white. Bam, that's easy to read. I don't care how exactly you do it, but make it purple. Preamble, purple. And all we're going to do is say, all right, what the heck is the purpose of this section? And read it together. Because here's a key to understanding things that don't make sense to you. If you try and take the whole thing at once, like a big old bite of Declaration of Independence, you'll be confused. So what do? Break it down piece by piece and then put it back together, and it will make sense. Here's the first thing to remember before we read a word of this. All this is a breakup letter. We're not just doing the breakup letter thing because I thought it'd be funny to trick you and put it on YouTube, although that was funny.
Is this still playing?
Yep.
We should all jump you right now. That'd be funny.
Good, it'll be on camera, so when I sue you, it's easy to win. Okay, so remember this. All it is a breakup letter. But instead of a freshman or a sophomore dumping their girlfriend, it's 13 colonies dumping their king. Saying, like, we're breaking up with you and starting our own country. That's all it is. So if you get confused, remember that. Here's what the preamble does. It lays out what's going to come. Think of it like the trailer to a movie or the introduction to an essay. You kind of lay out the whole thing. Now, in this letter that I wrote, it talks about relationships being a two-way street. When somebody's unhappy, you have the right to, like, dump them. What I did is I took what Thomas Jefferson, he wrote most of this, actually said, and then said, let's make it fit in the context of a teenager's love letter. So here's what they really said in the preamble. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, in other words, instead of being in a relationship like dating-wise, more like you're our government or my king and we're connected through politics or government. So he's saying when you're connected to somebody in government, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. And you're already going like, oh my gosh, 1800s language. I don't understand what he's saying. So here's what we can do. If you highlight that whole section with your cursor, do you guys know how to add a comment? Click comment, or you can do like Control-Shift-M, I think. So put a comment on this whole section, like when you highlight it. All we're going to do is summarize. So we know purple's preamble, but what the heck is the point? You're getting a breakup letter from your girlfriend. Do you start off with complaints? You drank my Dr. Pepper. That's your first line. That doesn't make sense, does it? What do you have to start with? Okay, let me read you mine and tell me if I say it's not working out yet. Now, you know it's not working out, but listen to what I wrote. Relationships are a two-way street. Anytime one person feels unhappy or wants a change, they have the power to end the relationship. And here's probably the most important one for you. You can't just go dump somebody to their face or tell your friends I dumped him or her, because you also have to tell your friends and the person you're dumping why you're no longer going out with them. Because the next girl you're going to date goes, why'd you dump your last girlfriend? I don't know, I just did it. Okay, no one wants to date you.
They don't do that, actually.
Now, if you have a valid reason that you can say, well, because she ate my Dr. Pepper and fruit snacks, or drank my Dr. Pepper, sorry. If she ate it, then you should be scared of her because she's tough. Or she never paid for meals and just mooched off me all the time, so it was expensive to date her. Then we go, oh, valid reason. Because here's the first thing people do in a breakup. You have to pick a side, right? Like, is he right to dump you, or is he being a jerk for dumping you? Don't people try and conclude that right away? So here's what Thomas Jefferson says. In relationships, you sometimes have to break up with people. But when you do, if you want the world to think you're a decent guy or lady, You have to tell them reasons.
Cheat on them.
Then no one's going to feel sorry when you get dumped. They go, oh, that's a pretty good reason. So here's what we'll put in our comment. What's the purpose of a preamble? Okay, you get a letter from your girlfriend that starts talking about in relationships, somebody always has the right to dump somebody else. And if you do, you have to tell them reasons why. Stop reading there. Predict what's coming next. I'm dumping you because all these reasons. You know this is a breakup letter, right? If you read between the lines, you don't start talking about dumping people and say, go to prom with me, question mark? That wouldn't make sense. So what is the preamble in effect doing? What's the purpose of this? It's the first play of a game in football. If you play football and you come in the locker room before the game, I always say this. From the very first play. I don't say that. Nope. I always say from the very first play.
The tempo.
That's what Coach Snell says. Set
the tone.
The tone. Do you know this is a serious you're getting dumped type of letter just from that preamble?
So you say, I'm not playing around, little boy.
Do you know you're getting dumped when you just read that preamble? It says nothing about dumping you or Dr. Pepper yet, but do you know you're getting dumped? So guess what it did really well? It set the tone. Put that as your comment. Preamble set the tone. You don't dump her in the first line because then she's going to cry and tear stains all over it. She can't read the rest. You save that for the end.
You say, we're done, but this is why.
No, but as soon as you hear you're done, she's like loading the gun and coming for you. She's not reading the rest.
So you're saying prove your point, grandmother loves you?
No, set the tone. Set the tone. Does that sound serious? And you know someone's getting dumped. It does a great job of setting the tone. It also reminds you that if you're the dumper, you're dumping her or him, you're breaking it off, you have to tell the world reasons why, like good reasons. You can't just say because she's ugly. That's a subjective thing. You have to say because she lives too far away and always makes me drive to her house and I can't afford to date her because she is a moocher. Okay? Now, once you have that comment, that's purple. The next section starts with, we hold these truths to be self-evident. I bet you've heard that part of this. If you've heard anything, it's from this paragraph. We're going to call this the truths or rights in a relationship section. Anyone have a suggestion for color? Truths or rights? I like red for rights. I don't care, again, how you do it, but highlight it or change the text to red for rights. Now, think of it like this. You're saying, in a relationship, these are the rights everybody deserves. You still haven't dumped them yet. But you set the tone, and if they're smart, they know the dumping is coming later.
Last time you dumped someone.
Well, since I am now married, it's been quite a while.
Do you miss it?
I thoroughly enjoy being married to my wife. Every day I wake up, I'm a happy man. And she is an awesome lady. If nothing else, I'm just surprised she doesn't dump me during football season. I'm sure she feels like it sometimes.
I think you'd quit your football job to be with your wife.
She got a big talk from my mother, Principal McKelkey's wife, who was married. You don't even know her.
I know him, her husband.
Yeah, I know you know him. She was a football widow for 25 years. He was a head coach in Montana. So you guys know the night before the wedding, you have the groomsmen's dinner, right? If you are in weddings. So in front of 300 people, my mom got up with a list and said, here's what you can expect marrying a football coach. And before you go down the aisle tomorrow and say yes, you better be okay with these crappy things you're going to have to deal with.
What was one of them?
I'm not going to go into it, but you can ask her. She still said yes, so. I like to think we can balance both. But you might say, even on a weekend after a level game that you lost in overtime, which is like paying, Isaac had a very eloquent way of putting this in the hotel. He comes to the hotel, we lost in overtime. Like as close as you can get to winning, right? And he puts money in the vending machine and he pushes the button for potato chips and the little coils push it out and it gets stuck right on the edge. It's just hanging there. And he had a very poetic moment. And he's like, could this day get any worse? This is just like the football game. Like, it's right there. And he had to bang on it and shake the thing to finally get it to fall.
You have no idea. Yesterday, then I went to Subway, and...
They put mayo on your sandwich?
No, the Subway lady, I didn't like her, so I didn't go to Subway. I went to Obo's, I wanted pretzels. They didn't have the pretzels I wanted.
They didn't have pretzels? How do you carry on with life?
Then I go to All American, and they're like, you want these free mozzarella sticks? I'm like, sure. I drop them. And then I'm going to put those. It's bad.
Now, here's my point. Even in a day like that, you might say in a relationship, it's still unfair to take it out on your girlfriend or your wife. Like, if I come home mad at my wife because we lost a football game, or you're mad at your girlfriend because you hurt your knee, or Subway lady was mean to you.
Just tell her to leave you alone.
Yeah, but when they marry you, it's because they want to hang out with you. They're like, come home and be my roommate and go downstairs and not talk. Well, then why are we dating? Why are we married if we don't talk when you're mad all the time? That seems weird. Okay? So here's what he's going to say. We're going to read this together. Put a comment on this whole section. So highlight it all. And click comment or Control-Alt-M. Here's what he's laying out. This is Thomas Jefferson talking. What rights should all people have? That's what he puts in this paragraph. Think of it like this. In a relationship, what rights do you deserve? You should. Some countries have compulsory military service at age 18. You are in the army for 2 years, like it or not.
Like Russia?
Like Iran does that. Some European countries do that because they're so small, they need everybody. Switzerland does it.
How do you get out of it? Can you get out of it?
You have to be, even if you're like disabled or something, they give you a different job in the army.
I heard like, if there's a draft and you go to yourself in the same home, they won't draft you.
No.
Yeah.
When you're 18, as a man, you must register for the draft.
If you don't, you go to jail.
And you don't get FAFSA when you apply to college, like student aid.
If you don't register for the
Son, we learned about Vietnam last year. World War I, we executed like 17 dudes who didn't go to the draft. We shot them for not going in the draft. That's a crime.
Do you know we're going to have a draft in Tennessee?
I hope not, because I'm in it. You're going to be pretty soon, too. When do you turn 18?
2 months.
You're going to be in it, too. Okay, you know these. Here are the big ones. Thomas Jefferson, in his first line, says this. If there's one line you know from this whole thing, it is this one. We hold these truths to be self-evident. In other words, like obvious enough that I don't have to explain. All men are created equal. Do you remember those 5 founding ideals from U.S. history? The one equality comes from right there, if you're in that class, right? That they are endowed, like given or created with, by their creator, capital C. Who's he talking about? Man upstairs. Without saying God, he means God, right? Thomas Jefferson was a religious dude. With certain unalienable rights, meaning you cannot take them away. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Indonesians have heard this before. Bulgarians have heard this before. If you took 8th grade history with Mr. Bell or otherwise have a pulse, you have heard this before. Here's what he's saying. Rights in a political relationship. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Now, I would totally agree that in a teenage dating relationship, you should have the right to life, i.e. they can't kill you. I'll give you that. Okay? Liberty means like the freedom, and maybe in the context of relationship, to talk to who you want or have a weekend where you don't hang out with them or you don't have to do what they say all of the time. When we talk about political relationships, you'd say like freedom of speech might be a liberty. Or freedom of religion. Probably not the same ones in a relationship, but same idea. And then pursuit of happiness. That is opportunity in U.S. history class. What does that mean in the context of a teenage dating relationship? Or even a marriage as an adult? Pursuit of happiness. It does not mean you're chasing a guy who has a sign on his back that says happiness. That's not what that means. And if it doesn't make you happy, like dating her does not make you happy. Okay, maybe not burn their house down, but dump them.
I got a good point.
Because here's what you have to remember. The fundamental reason why you enter into such a relationship as a teenager dating a teenager or an adult marrying an adult, it should make you happy. It is not a status symbol. I did not marry my wife for the tax benefits of marriage. Although there are some, that is not why I married her. That would be a stupid reason. I love her and I enjoy being around her. It makes me happy. So as long as it makes me happy, it makes sense to stay married. In a teenage relationship, I'm not trying to go all Dr. Phil on anybody, but I think sometimes we forget, like, what's the point? Because it makes me more popular, because it's the cool thing to do, because I'm bored. I don't know, but here's what I would remind you. Thomas Jefferson has a good point. Because it makes you happy. And if the relationship does not afford you life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, you should definitely dump that guy, like we did King George, or girl, if you're the guy in this scenario. So, all he's saying is these are the rights. Okay? To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. Like, that's why we have governments, is to protect those three rights. And the government gets their power from the consent of the governed. Like, the people have to want you to be in charge if you are in the government. Think of it like dating. Okay? And one of the big news stories last week was the kid in California who got out of prison after a couple of months for raping a girl.
Brock Turner.
Brock
Turner for prison.
And the judge, people are trying to get the judge kicked out because he gave him a really lenient sentence. I'm not going to go into it, but if you read that, that's a good example. In relationships, not just dating, but even like sexually. Obviously, you have to have the consent of the other person. You cannot force someone to date you. You can't like go up to your wife and say, marry me, or else. Because even if she says yes, did she really marry you? Is she really dating you if you made her? No. That is the same thing with government. The people in charge can't just say, I'm in charge, shut up and do what I say. The people that you govern have to give you permission. That's voting. Like, we pick Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton or C.J. Hamilton or whoever. That shows, like, the people voted for you, so you have our consent. That's just like saying in a relationship, do you want to go out? It's such an obvious thing you forget about it, but you kind of need that to start a relationship, don't you?
I honestly feel like we should break the age limit on that.
We can amend the Constitution and do so, yes, that's possible. We changed the voting age to 18.
It should be 17.
We can change that.
No, it should be like 17 if you take in a government.
I think we should just get rid of the Constitution and have a government bureaucracy where all of us who like government just make all the rules.
I think we should have
And then you can be a Lions fan, Snapchat, ride your dirt bike, I'll run the country.
I disagree with that. We should have a purge.
I'm being facetious. You'd be gone. You can't even walk right now.
I
You would purge yourself. Okay? Now, he still hasn't said anything about dumping you, King George. But he started with setting the tone about relationships and then saying these are the rights you have. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. You got to have permission from me to be in a relationship with me. Still hasn't said I'm dumping you. But do you know someone's getting dumped?
Yeah.
Yes. So what you'll do in your letter on Wednesday and Friday, you're going to say, here are some rights that you think, your culture and perspective might be different than mine, I'm not a teenager anymore, that you should be given in a relationship. And if you can come up with some awesome list like his, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, extra credit points. Okay? Do you see how this really is just a breakup letter? It fits this context perfectly. All right, everybody's favorite section. See how this goes? He, his. Here's the list and 4. Highlight that entire list with your cursor. And it's going to be a list of complaints. I made it orange. Does anyone have an objection to the list of complaints being orange? Good, that's settled then. I'll make mine bold and orange so it's easy to read. Now, no one's getting dumped yet. He's just fulfilling what he said you have to do in the preamble. You're going to dump your king? Okay, if you want the world to think you're not a bunch of knucklehead colonists, what do you have to tell the world when you dump your king? When you dump your girlfriend and your buddy says, why'd you dump her? If you don't want him to think you're a jerk face, what do you have to tell him?
It was her
Good
fault.
reasons why.
She was crazy, bro. All she wanted to do was...
But here's what smart people say. Give me an example. You don't just say, because she sucks, or she's weird, or she's crazy. Say, she's crazy, i.e., last Tuesday, here's what she did. And then they go, whoa, yeah, you're good for dumping her, man. She does sound crazy. If you just say, well, I flipped a coin and I dumped her, your friends are like, you are the weird one here. I'm on her side. And then the next girl that was going to maybe go out with you finds out you dumped her because you flipped a coin, and she's not going to date you anymore. Right? So here's what Thomas Jefferson does. This is a list of complaints against the king, like against the British. We are not going to go through all of them because it takes way too long. Let's pick out a couple. Fourth he down. He has called together. Fourth he down. I used this one in my letter.
What? Which one is it?
Fourth he down. So it starts with he has called together. Everybody see that one?
Yeah.
Here's what he says. He has called together legislative bodies, so like lawmaking groups, like Congress, at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. Remember how in mine I said anytime we hang out, you make me come to your house and you live a long ways out of town? All I did is take this complaint that King George said, oh, colonists, you want to make some laws? Let's meet in LaBarge, Wyoming at 2 a.m., which is a long ways away from where all your files and folders are. And if you're not there, you don't get to make laws. Don't complain because I give you a shot. In other words, like you made us travel a long ways and made it really uncomfortable and unusual for the sole purpose of making us go, fine, screw it, you just make the rules. So I thought in the context of a teenage relationship, it's like you make me always drive to your house. So then when I get there, instead of complaining about your crappy choice of movie, I'm just like, fine, whatever, I'll watch Jeepers Creepers with you.
Hey, that's a great movie.
Tommy gets scared when he watches scary movies, though. Okay? Let me find another one that I used. Oh, last one. At least on mine, on this first page, he has erected a multitude of new offices. Here's my Dr. Pepper and fruit snacks. She's like, there's no way that's in the Declaration of Independence, like eating our food. Yes, it is. He has erected or built up a multitude of new offices and sent hither, like sent out, swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. Like, he sends all these government agents and your farmers, and they're like, I need to sleep in your house, and by the way, I like mac and cheese and bacon for dinner. Go cook it for me. Like, they're mooching off of you. His government agents are mooching off of you. If you ever wondered why we have a Third Amendment, there must be a reason why. We don't have to quarter soldiers, because the King of England abused that right. So that's like saying, in the context of a relationship, you always come to my house and eat my food and mooch off me. See how that one fits my letter perfectly. Okay? Now, there are tons of other ones. We're not going to go through them. We're just categorizing today. But you're going to pick 3 to 5 of them that you will flip into teenage relationship problems instead of 18th century political problems. So the next section starts with, in every stage of this oppression. We're going to call this attempts at reconciliation. In other words, I still have not dumped you yet in this letter, So after I set the tone, establish my rights in a relationship, list all my complaints about you, I'm also going to say in the fourth section, here's where I've tried to work with you. Like before I dumped you, I said, hey baby, when you drink the last Dr. Pepper, that makes me angry. Please don't do it again. And then the next week, you drank my Dr. Pepper again. Because when you say that, remember, here's the whole point. You want Des to take your side when you're dumping her. You want Des to say like, amen, brother, she's crazy. I'm glad you dumped her. If you can not only list the complaints, but also the like, I tried to work with her. I told her drinking Dr. Pepper out of my fridge without asking makes me an angry man, and she did it 5 times. Des is like, dude, I'm surprised you didn't dump her earlier. She's clearly the one deserving to be dumped here. So, we're going to highlight this in blue. Or make it blue. I don't care how. And we're going to label this in a comment, couples counseling. Because attempts at reconciliation, you're all going to be like, what the heck does that mean? I'll type it because he said so. But do you know what couples counseling is? Yeah. I don't want to dump you, baby, so let's go talk about it on a therapist's leather couch. And it shows if you're willing to go to couples counseling before you dump her, you're trying to keep it. Like, I'm trying to work with you here. So let's just call it couples counseling.
Did you go to couples counseling with your wife if you had to?
Before I divorced her? Yeah.
What if it was during the weekend?
It'd be hard to fit that in my schedule. I hope the counselor can work at night or 5 a.m. I mean, would you just dump your boyfriend or girlfriend the first time they made you mad?
No.
Especially if you had not told them that thing you did makes me mad. It's almost unfair, unless it's really an obvious, egregious, horrible thing they did, like hit you or steal your money. But otherwise, if it's like a pet peeve, you have to tell them, I don't like it when you do that, and try and work with them.
What if they stole your heart?
Your heart? I guess you're not getting it back when you dump her.
They will. You can beat it up.
So, here's all he's saying in this section. I have tried to make it work with you. If you look at my letter, mine is blue as well, and here's what I said. Tell me if this sounds like couples counseling, like I tried to keep the relationship going. I've tried and tried with you, KG. I've told you how I feel. We've argued. You always promise that you'll change, but you never have. You either ignore me or try and blame it all on me. So imagine you go to couples counseling, like, I'm here to fix our relationship. I don't want to dump you. And then everything that comes up, the other person's like, well, that's your fault, or you're stupid, or yeah, but you're ugly. I hate you. And you're trying to fix the relationship. You are proving that you took good faith measures before you just dumped them. You're like, I'm trying here, but you're not working with me. That is the point of this section. Okay? 2 minutes. Perfect timing. Last one. We're going to highlight that. Let's go green. Have we done green yet? No. Let's go green. Just make sure you can read it. So, what's interesting about the world's most famous breakup letter, King George does not actually get dumped.
King George don't take that.
Until the end of the fourth section. Basically, till like the last part of the letter, it doesn't say you're dumped. This part doesn't just say you're dumped. It also says, here's how serious I am about dumping you. So here's what we call it. The resolution. Like, here's how serious I take this. So in a comment, call this resolution, but I'm going to give you something that maybe fits better besides resolution. Here's how serious I am, is what this means in like teenager language. Call it the resolution, but it really just means, here's how serious I am. Because how many of you know someone, without naming names, that is not the purpose of this, who every day you talk to them, it's like, yeah, I dumped her, and the next day it's like, no, I love her, dude, we're getting married. And then tomorrow it's like, I hate her guts, she's psycho. Oh, we're getting married again. And like every day it switches. What they're saying is, King George, yes, we are dumping you, but here's how serious I am in my letter. I think the two most serious things a teenager can say: I changed my Facebook status, and my father has a 12-gauge shotgun waiting at my front door in case you'd come try and take me back. Is that pretty serious dumpage? Yes. Okay. Stop for a minute. Pause. Raise your right hand. I state your name. Raise your hand, Bradley. Do solemnly swear to not say anything about the breakup letter until after school today. So help me, Thomas Jefferson and Mr. McKelkey. Have a good rest of your day.